We put out a monthly 12-page newsletter called the Retiree Advocate. We have standing committees that work on climate justice, on government. We have a presence in our state legislature through our government relations committee. We have a race and gender equity committee, which is right now a major project we're working on besides supporting the Seattle King County African American Reparations Committee. We're also working on a Juneteenth celebration with a local African American church here in Seattle. Um, and we have two major task forces. One is the Social Security Task Force, which is now we're having to put together a strategy to try and stop what is obvious attempt to hollow out the Social Security Administration and ultimately privatize Social Security. And we also have what we call a level the playing field task force, which is made up of about 12 of our members that's working on our strategy of leveling the playing field between Medicare Advantage and traditional Medicare. And that's what I think I'm primarily going to talk about today. I want to say that we are supporters of Medicare for all, um, and we have a very close relationship with Representative Jayapal, who has been a member of PSARA now for probably a decade. And we just met with her last week to talk about the various strategies, what's going on, and her work that she's doing nationally as well. So what we're doing at both the local, state, and national level. I'll start off at the state level and talk about what we're doing. Obviously, we do a lot of work with our state legislature. We also have produced a booklet. I think it's about a 60-page booklet on leveling the playing field, the strategy of leveling the playing field, just to give you some sense of what that strategy is. Um, After doing probably a year's worth of work on ACO REACH, and as a result of doing that work, coming to the conclusion that the really 500-pound gorilla in the room is Medicare Advantage, and that we had to turn our attention to trying to stop the privatization of Medicare, which is now 54% of Medicare beneficiaries are in Medicare Advantage. They have peaked over the majority. Um, we also are aware, as a result of our field work, and just to give you an example of our field work, um, tomorrow I am myself and the chair of our Race and Gender Equity Committee are speaking to the union that represents the engineers and technical writers at Boeing, their retirees. It's called SPIA, and we're speaking to them tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we have a PSARA chapter down in Pierce County, which is where Tacoma, Washington is. And we're speaking at Tacoma Community College to whoever that PSARA chapter, they have a bunch of co-sponsors, bring to a presentation about leveling the playing field. Both of these will be about that. The strategy on leveling the playing field grew out of our interaction with our base. When we traveled to various parts of the region, the Puget Sound region, we found that number one, obviously, people oftentimes don't know um, that when they're in Medicare Advantage, that's not Medicare. But what we also found, which was very important to our strategy, was that a number of our members, particularly the members who were in Kaiser Medicare Advantage program, are quite happy with their Medicare Advantage plan and are not particularly, because it is less expensive than original Medicare, because they don't have to buy supplemental insurance, they don't have to buy Medicare Part D, so it's a lot less complicated than original Medicare, that they were happy with their plans, and most of them don't really get unhappy until they start getting complicated conditions that come along with our getting older and find themselves in limited networks and facing prior authorization as a weapon that's used by the Medicare Advantage insurers to build their profits as well as their upcoding. So what we developed was a strategy of working to make original Medicare as as uh, as inexpensive and as uncomplicated is as is Medicare Advantage. Um, we are of the opinion, based on our field work, that the main attraction of Medicare Advantage to a senior population that is, um, most of the vast majority are modest to low income. Um, that what we came to understand was that the main three things that drove people into Medicare Advantage are: one, having to purchase supplemental insurance, and Medicare Part D; two, the complexity of original Medicare as opposed to Medicare Advantage; and three, many of them turn to insurance brokers or insurance agents, not knowing, and I know this because I have a number of friends who have done this, that those insurance brokers and insurance agents get very significant sums of money by signing people up on Medicare Advantage as compared to what they get, for example, for signing people up on supplemental insurance. And obviously, they make no money from signing people up, getting people to sign up for original Medicare. So we have implemented, and we have found it to be very attractive, a strategy of working uh, to make it possible for people, one, to be able to get into original Medicare without having to face. Right now, as all of you know, I'm sure, there is no out-of-pocket cap for original Medicare on and as opposed to the out-of-pocket cap that does exist with Medicare Advantage. And so working hard to make it possible for people who want to go on original Medicare not to have to purchase supplemental insurance by putting a reasonable cap on original Medicare out-of-pocket costs. Now, many people have, or not many, some people say to us, "Why aren't you just focusing on Medicare for all instead of on trying to level the playing field as a transitional strategy to Medicare for all?" Um, we believe, and we have had lots significant contact with Wendell Potter, that if we were successful, actually successful at leveling the playing field, that would be a, ultimately a deadly blow to Medicare Advantage. But it would certainly put people in a position where they had more trust in original Medicare being able to deliver to them with at a cost that was not unaffordable. We now know that, for example, that there is healthcare racism going on with what's happened in Medicare, that there's a disproportionate number of people of color who are ending up in Medicare Advantage because of the cost issues associated with it, while the extra benefits of dental vision, and hearing um, may attract some. The major reason why people are moving into Medicare Advantage has to do with the cost and the complexity of it. So we have been working on this, doing field work, have been testing it, and we found that the message resonates. And we are now at this point, we have a number of things going on. We have a Senate joint memorial. The labor movement has come fully behind. The labor movement has supported Medicare for all, but the labor movement has also in Washington state, which is the third or fourth largest concentration of union members in the country, has also gone on record as supporting leveling the playing field between original Medicare and Medicare Advantage. We now had the Democratic senator, Senator Bob Hasagawa, who is one of PSARA's members, came to us this year and said he wanted to try and bring a joint memorial to the state legislature to get the state legislature on board with leveling the playing field. I just actually spoke to Bob this morning. The legislation is out of our healthcare committee, the Senate healthcare committee, and is now in the rules committee. And he told me this morning that it's going to be pulled from rules committee and onto the floor of the Senate. Then our job will be to get the floor leader and the majority leader of the Senate to actually put it up for a vote before the cutoff that exists in our legislative process. So we're working on that, and we're also continuing to go out and doing education. And the education involves educating people about the many disadvantages of Medicare Advantage and creating the possibility for Medicare beneficiaries to have a real choice between original Medicare and Medicare Advantage by making it affordable. So that's the strategy that we're employing. We're doing that work at the state level, working with community-based organizations, with labor, and now with the state legislature. We also are part of a national coalescence that meets every 2 weeks that is chaired now by, I think Rachel Madley is back from her, she had a baby. I think she's back from leave on that, or will be back the end of this month. And she's now working in Wendell Potter's Institute for Healthcare and Democracy. And a lot of the folks that are part of that are people that are based in Washington, D.C., and are working the legislature. But there are some organizations, some like Public Citizen and others that also have an organizing base. And we're meeting with them and we're talking with them and developing strategies with them. Different. We're all kind of have our own different field that we're working in. The Center for Medicare Advocacy does the work that they do. And so we're continuing to work with them to try and actually, obviously, make people aware of the disadvantages of Medicare Advantage, and at the same time recognize that part of the advantage they do have, Medicare Advantage has, is that it's a lot less expensive. At the same time, we had just recently this meeting with Representative Jayapal, who wrote the introduction to um, um, our. Let me see if I have a copy of the primer right here that I can grab. Um, yeah, hold on. I'll show you the cover of the primer.
Oh, we do have Wendell Potter coming to speak to our May 13th One Pair of States meeting. And so we'll send everybody who's attending here an invitation to that. It's
Sorry about that.
Tuesday at 5.
So this is the cover of the printer of the brochure that we printed on. I don't know if you all can see it and if it's backwards for you all, but it's called "Give Us a Real Choice: Level the Playing Field Between Traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage," and that has a number of articles from various people from around the country and our members as well. Um, and it is our understanding that a lot PNHP is now focusing on actually trying to make people aware of, you know, the real problems with Medicare Advantage, the use of the weaponization of prior authorization, the use of upcoding, those nurse visits that they come up with new conditions. Fleecing the Medicare Trust Fund, we've got a major battle on our hand with Dr. Oz, who is calling for Medicare Advantage to be the default. for people who are first coming into Medicare. So um, that's some of the work that we're doing. I'm certainly open to any questions that any of you might have. Go ahead, Mike.
Are the men in suits noticing you yet?
Well, it's interesting. On the hearing that we held in front of the Healthcare Committee, there were over 850 people who came in favor of the Senate Joint Memorial. There were 9 people that came in opposition, but all of the Republicans voted against it. I do believe that that is a result of the work of the insurance lobby. I don't think there's any other reason why the Republicans would have voted against it in committee. We anticipate the same thing in our Senate if we can get it on the floor. Um, so I think the answer is yes, they're aware of us, but we don't know exactly how vociferously they're going to try and stop the concept of leveling the playing field. It's just, based on the notion that people should have a real choice, and so it kind of puts them in a odd position to say no, they shouldn't have a choice. We should have the advantage, but I'm sure that's what they think. Does that answer your question, Mike? Yeah, Kathy?
So I have a brother in New York State who he's in the advanced stages of frontal temporal dementia. My sister manages his care, and she has told me that he's more or less forced to be in the dual enrollment program for Medicaid and Medicare.
Right.
And that turns out to be the program that he is most basically forced to enroll in is a Medicare Advantage program. It's kind of disguised a little bit, but that's what it is. And I wondered if you have seen that trend across the country, or if that is normal, or it just seems entirely unfair. And I think it fits in well with your strategy to level the playing field. I just don't think that's appropriate. I wondered if you had any comments.
The main thing that I mean, I I'm sure that that's true with Medicaid. Well, I should have mentioned in my presentation is that we're also very concerned about the attack that's happening on Medicaid because Medicaid fully covers about 70% of all people in nursing homes. Um, so this is a dire situation. I do know that in many states that Medicaid has been privatized, and so it's kind of a Medicare Advantage lookalike um, because it does have all the prior authorizations and the limited networks. Um, I don't quite understand how the interface between Medicaid and original Medicare happens. I don't know. Well, it's not original Medicare. So, but my understanding is that the dual eligibles, at least in Washington, have some of the best benefits of any of the people that are, you know, of anyone because they get all of the other benefits that come with Medicaid. Um, and I have not heard that from any of our members that are dual eligibles that they are running into some of the same problems. Is your brother, is he running into the problem with limited networks and choice of physician?
He is running into problems with denied care. So denied, you know, equipment that he needs. He is not in a nursing home. He's at home and is seen to 24/7 by family members and hired aides. And recently, my sister's encountering a lot of pushback with requested services and equipment that he needs.
Yeah,
So having coverage for that. So
right.
thanks for the background info on that and the insight. I was just curious about it. I don't fully understand it. So thank you.
Right. Right. Well, there are some folks, I mean, one place that I would recommend that you consider if you want to get more insight about what's going on is the Center for Medicare Advocacy. I know that when my son's daughter-in-law's mother was facing problems with uh, being denied care because she was on a Medicare Advantage plan in New York State. They shifted over to original Medicare. They were able to shift over because New York is one of the guaranteed issue states where you don't have to take that healthcare questionnaire to be able to move from Medicare Advantage to original Medicare, during the open enrollment period, Kathy. And the issues that they were having uh, went away in terms of skilled nursing facility, um, where they were being limited by their Medicare Advantage plan. But she was not a dual eligible. She was just on Medicare Advantage. But the shift from Medicare, and we actually had an article in our newsletter about that my son wrote. The shift from Medicare Advantage to Medicare in New York State, which you're able to do without, the questionnaire, made it possible for them not to have those problems with prior authorization.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, go ahead, Cheryl. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I mean, how many other states have tried to do what New York has successfully done and enable people to reverse and go back to
There are 4 states right now that have it. It's Maine is one of them. We have someone on here from Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York. We have had legislation introduced here in Washington. And the thing that you run into with it, and this is a horrible problem, is that we have people who are on original Medicare made that choice and who are hanging on because they can afford supplemental insurance. We had a study by our Office of the Insurance Commissioner that said that if you move to guaranteed issue, and there's 2 sets of folks on Medicare. There's people with disabilities, actually kids who have lost one of their parents, people with disability, and then seniors. Um, and the study was done, oh God, I'm forgetting, Milliman, was done by Milliman. And they said that if we were to legislate guaranteed issue, that would increase the cost of supplemental insurance. Now, we have done a comparison of the premiums that are being paid here in Washington because supplemental insurance is regulated at the state level. Um, that because it's just private insurance that you go out and purchase. We did a comparison of the cost of supplemental insurance here in Washington to Connecticut, New York, Maine, and Massachusetts. And all in all, the costs were approximately the same. So we're not trusting of that Milliman study. So at this point, what we do have in Washington is community rating. And so community rating means that they can't charge people who, they can't use prior conditions, prior and stuff like that to increase their premium. So in Washington, if you want to switch with community rating, if you want to switch from Medicare Advantage to original Medicare, their only choice is either to accept you or deny you. They can't charge you higher premiums because of prior, pre-existing condition. There are a number of other community rated states where that's true. But the only 4 states that I'm aware of that have guaranteed issue are those 4 states that I mentioned. Go ahead, Cheryl, but you're muted.
Am I missing? I mean, is there a disadvantage to the community ratings?
No, the community rating is advantageous.
Yeah.
it doesn't allow the insurers that sell supplemental insurance to be able to jack up your premiums because you have a pre-existing condition. Their only choice is to deny, not sell you the insurance or sell it to you. So that's better than not having community ratings so that they can jack you up because of pre-existing conditions.
Well, don't they just
But the
deny you?
guaranteed issue is a whole different thing. Guaranteed issue with community rating is ideal
Yeah.
because guaranteed issue with community rating means they can't jack you up on your premiums.
Do you know what percentage of people get rejected, get
I do
denied?
not. I do not know that, Cheryl.
It would make sense to deny them if they have health issues. Why not?
Well, that they do a profit analysis. Are we going to make more from this than we're going to have to pay out? That's what they do. Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing though was very interesting. We had one of our members who was on Medicare Advantage and had a terrible experience. He had a malignancy on his earlobe and terrible, terrible experience. But fortunately, his Medicare Advantage plan stopped selling um, in our state, and he was able to go into original Medicare because that's another condition where you can go into original Medicare without and buy supplemental insurance, and they can't. They have to sell it to you. They don't have a choice. So you drive your plan. If you can drive your plan out, then they can make that switch. Hank, go ahead.
Just on the community, so community rating, guaranteed issue, the argument would be is the premium is going to be a little higher for everybody because they have to cover the good drivers as well as the bad drivers.
That's right.
So your car insurance will be more expensive. So that's
right.
the only sort of downside argument that you'll hear.
Right.
I have a question about your 3 points. And I want to make a comparison to what we've done in our fiscal studies over the last number of years. So a state-based plan will solve problem number 3 of enrollment because everybody is automatically enrolled.
Right.
No reason to have
Right.
an insurance agent, broker, middleman. Okay. Number 2, low out of pocket because and that goes with simplicity. The reason let's say, will sign up for Medicare Advantage, it's one-stop shopping, RX covered, et cetera, et cetera. In a state-based plan that covers everybody, the state insurance acts as the one-card shopping payer for your Medigap insurance and your RX plan.
Right.
So when we've modeled this for the fiscals for our state, we've always included and assumed that the state plan would be the wraparound. So we would offer, so the selling point for a state-based plan with universal cover, universal enrollment is that the state-based card would solve the problems of simplicity, out-of-pocket cost, and initial low cost into the plan. And
Right.
also the fact that the automatic enrollment, you don't need a broker.
Right.
So I don't know, can you comment on that? And what would
Listen, if you can achieve all those things, the reality is it has not been able to be pushed through because of the cost to the state. And we're very well aware of that. We're not opposed to those efforts at all. But we think that right now we are facing the real chance that we're going to lose original Medicare. And so we're looking at what's the strategy to try and turn that around. Because, you talk to the most progressive Democrats, and they're going to tell you we are a long ways from that Medicare Advantage, at least at the national level.
well,
The state level, I know that New York is doing something. I wasn't aware that Maine is doing something at this point. I know that Oregon is trying to do something around that. I know that California has been trying to do something around that. I don't know where else it's happening. I don't know how close you are. How close are you?
Well, it's in our fiscal models that we've done twice over the last 5 years, just to answer the question of cost for the state.
Yeah.
And
Right.
again, we will be submitting legislation this session also that over the years has got us to various small legislative studies, big legislative studies, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
The question is just to answer your of the modeling of a state plan. We've also, in there, it's the argument, well, can the state one payer be a Part C plan? It'll sell as a Medicare Advantage plan,
Yeah.
shall we say. And guess what? You're over 65, you're already enrolled. Auto enrollment. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so and then the question is you can decide not to do it. You can go with Anthem or United if you want to, but take your pick.
Uh-huh.
At least that's
Yeah.
the model to answer
Right.
those questions, those
Yeah.
three questions you said, those three.
I think that part of what we're trying to deal with is political reality at this point.
Sure.
And so we're trying to do a strategy that is going and that there are people that are buying off on this and seeing the value of trying to level the playing field. I mean, organizations that are buying off on it and saying, yeah, this is making a lot of sense. Um, and we think that this is one that's going to be a whole lot easier sell than, trying to move, over to Medicare for all, a public Medicare for all, or, and we feel like we're in a position where if they are keep moving up their percentages into, I mean, the original Medicare isn't available in Puerto Rico anymore. It's all Medicare Advantage, um, and we just we're facing, and there are states where the percentages are very high, and so we really have to have a strategy that allows people to choose original Medicare where they don't have to have an insurance middleman deciding what you can get and what you can't get. Go ahead, Mike.
Um, PNHP National, I think, must have been listening to the Milliman report, and I think officially decided, Ed Weisbart, that the community or the cost to everybody else went up in the states that they studied. Is that the study that they depended on? And second question is, there's community rating with guarantee, and are there other states that have community rating without guarantee?
Yeah, Washington is one. I'm sure there are others as well. Absolutely. Yeah, community rating is much more widespread than is guaranteed issue. So I can't name off to you all the states that have community rating, but yes, it's much more widespread. California has community rating, right, Anna? You all have community rating down there, right?
I'm not sure about that. What I do know is that there is plan to introduce legislation again this year in the legislature to have guaranteed issue for these Medigap plans.
Yeah, yeah. I think you have community rating in California, but you would know better than me. Um, so yeah, so the question is yes, Mike. It is the rare situation where you have community rating and guaranteed issue.
And I
Just
just
what
want to,
is community rating?
Community rating is that I don't know how if I can describe it. Someone want to make Don? Can you describe community rating for people?
The car insurance company has to cover everybody. Even if you're a 20-year-old bad driver, the car insurance company has to offer you car insurance, and they're going to charge you the same rate as they charge Mike Huntington, who hasn't had an accident in 50 years.
Right.
Hey.
Although I think they are allowed to use age as part of the community rating. Don, you probably know this better than any of us. How would you describe community rating?
Well, have to admit I've forgotten a lot. I've had a series of strokes and grand mal seizures, and was placed in hospice for terminal care. And as you can see, I've had a pretty good recovery, but not complete.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, they can have age bands but they can't do things based on pre-existing conditions or anything like that. The whole community has to be rated the same. So, I don't know exactly how they create the age bands, and maybe it's a state by state thing. I don't know. I bet you could figure it out though, Judy, if you Google what is community rating.
All
I
right.
bet you could.
I just know my insurance went up $700 a year after I had a bad accident.
Oh,
And
you're
it says
talking
right
about
on
your
the
auto
policy,
insurance.
it's
Yeah.
because of my what's the word? I had the accident, so
Yeah.
mine went up a lot.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I wish
Go
I
ahead.
had community rating.
Well, I think I don't know anything about auto insurance, so I'm just going to shut the hell up about that. I don't know anything about it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, one way in which Medicare Advantage takes advantage of community rating is that the reimbursements to insurances is based on the average need, actuarial need for a community. And of course, the Medicare Advantage has all kinds of ways to cherry pick and lemon drop. So they end up getting that $5,000 per patient per year, but use only 3,000 of it. Whereas the other thing happens the other direction. Yeah, that's how they take advantage of the community rating.
I'm just going to say one of the struggles that we have, is getting, just put that on top of here. Just put it on top. One of the struggles that we have is that there is, congressional representatives who really want to focus on the dental, vision, and hearing as a way to try and equalize things. And what we know is while dental, vision, and hearing does draw some people into Medicare Advantage, the biggest factor is cost. Easily, the biggest factor is cost. And so we have to do, if we hope to preserve original Medicare, we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that so people have a real choice. Go ahead, Hank, and then Don, and then Anna.
Were you going to talk about ACO REACH at all and about
we have not been focusing on ACO REACH since our original campaign. I mean, we did some work on ACO REACH a couple of years ago, but Hank, we shifted in our work and said, yeah, ACO REACH is a bad deal, and we did some resolutions to our labor movement. We did some educating of our legislators about that, of our congressional representatives, but we felt like that the elephant in the room was Medicare Advantage, and so we just didn't have the capacity to carry on campaigns around both.
And your approach was you're forcing private insurance folks into managed care that they don't want. Is that basically the argument?
Around ACO REACH, yeah, you're putting a for-profit middle person in between your doctor and the patient. And why would you want to do that? Why you're taking money out of the system? Absolutely, that's exactly what we were doing.
Okay, thanks.
Don?
Yeah, I did want to make one point about community rating and how it's a very standard function of insurance companies. And the case I wanted to mention is our Southern California fires and how we're about to see our homeowners insurance skyrocket
Yes,
as a community rating.
right. Absolutely. Anna? You're muted. You're muted, Anna.
Thank you. I have one question and then one announcement, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so my question is, you talked about the strategy to make it possible to impose reasonable out-of-pocket caps. Do you know if there's legislation nationally around that?
The answer is no. I don't think there is legislation as yet. Supposedly, that legislation is being developed. Um, we have we are trying to get in touch with. We understand that it's Senator Warren who is working on that, um, but we don't know what the status of that is now. Representative Doggett is leading in the House, not on the supplemental insurance, but on dental, vision, and hearing. That's his issue. Um, so we don't know what the status of the work is that Senator Warren was doing on the issue of supplemental insurance. And frankly, they are so having to pay so much attention to all the horrible stuff that the Mump administration is doing. That the and I'm trying to think of a good way to say it's both Musk and Trump. Um, that 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 I don't know that they're able to pay much attention to that at this point. But we believe that the Democrats have to be putting stuff out there that will demonstrate what they would do were they in power again, so that we can organize around that stuff. And that's the message that we're sending, is that they have to do that. They have to give people a reason to vote for them other than being against Mump.
Yeah. So do you mind if I give my announcement? Is that okay?
Not, why would I mind you giving an announcement?
I don't know. So first of all, I'm Anna Malino. I got skipped, Mike. I did not get a chance to introduce myself. I am a retired pediatrician in San Francisco and also one of the lead organizers for National Single Payer. So that's what my announcement is about. I know that our natural tendency when we come in under attack is to go on the defensive, which is completely understandable, as it's happening in Medicare. However, National Single Payer believes that we should also continue our vision, and that's what we do. While you guys, make sure that what we have doesn't get destroyed, what we're doing is we're maintaining the vision of a national single payer healthcare system free from profit alive. And to that effect, we are organizing a National Day of Action on May 31, and we invite all of you to go to our website to consider endorsing our statement with our 4 demands. And I'm going to drop this in the chat, and I would love for PSARA to think about endorsing our statement, and for individuals on this call to, we're only really asking for organizations to sign on, but we obviously would love to have organizations endorse a statement and then consider local actions. So that's what we're doing. We're not going to all be gathering in Washington, D.C. We're going to be gathering across from our local CVS or from our local elected officials, letting them know that we're mad as hell, Mike. Although we're not all, I mean, some of us are doctors, but yeah, we're still mad as hell. And we really want a national health program. That's what this National Day of Action is going to be about. Thanks.
Anna, would you email me stuff about it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And it's also, I dropped everything in the chat, but I'll do that as well.
Sure. Mike, go ahead.
First, I'm deeply embarrassed that I did not pick Anna. Sorry, Anna. The question, just wanted to let you know that ACO REACH is alive and causing unwellness here in Corvallis, Oregon. CMS, officially with its little logo, says you do not need to take any action. Your care provider is working with Belong Health, motherhood, flags, apple pie, to help coordinate your care with your primary care physician. Why would you, not want to cooperate with that? It just looks so smooth and forceful. But they do give you a number. If you do not want to share your information with your provider, call this number. 1-800 number. And last time they did this a year ago, several of us did, and they did take us off the rolls. But this Belong Health is owned by a venture capital company called Maverick Ventures. We're letting everybody know that this nice looking CMS logo, all of this, is inviting venture capital into the exam room with their doctor, kind of reflecting what you said a while ago, Robby.
Cheryl, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say that I tried the number, it turned out to be calling Belong itself, and they said they'd take me off, and they didn't take me off. So next time I tried Medicare itself, and Medicare, you have to speak to a person. You can't do it online. And if they're going to fire everybody, good luck with that. But I think I'm off because I called Medicare directly. Just my one experience. If you were able to get Belong to take you off, then I'm done. Sorry.
I have a question for Cheryl. Did you have to choose another primary care provider then?
Oh no, I never left. And I asked my doc, I said, well, what is this? She said, I don't know what it is. She didn't really know what it was, and she didn't have a problem with me getting off it. And it didn't change my relationship with her at all. I don't understand it. Mike, maybe you understand more about it.
I forgot to mention that although Medicare Advantage is allowed to take an egregious 15% out for overhead and profit, the venture capital ACO REACH is allowed to take 25%.
Jeez.
So this is a little bit hard to pin down. You have to look at the CMMI proposal in 2021, but Ed Weisbard directed me to it. You have to look at these various corridors of care and how much money they get back. There's not a 25% number that bounces out at you, but he says it's provable, and it feels fine for us to use it.
Do you have I was going to say, do you have the reference list for that? Can you send on whatever research or the links that you found that?
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting entry on a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I will do that. I will do that.
Hank, I'll also, I don't have your email address, but I will send to Mike.
Send it to Mike, I guess.
And Mike can send it out. Some of the articles that we had in our newsletter during our campaign around ACO REACH. I have a whole file on that, and as soon as I get a chance, I'll look through it and send you what I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always useful to have a source with that kind of number.
Right.
On the presentation.
Right.
Thanks.
Mike, I just put the website address for PSARA on the chat for any of you who are interested in getting more information. The primer is also on the website. We have all of our newsletters dating way back on the website as well for any of you who want to learn more about PSARA and what PSARA is doing.